Hey everybody, Mike Toy, Bonsai Boise. This is my green ash. So far, it's been a long, strange journey with this green ash. I've had it about 10 years or so. So I'm going to show you some clips of kind of where it came from, some of the ups and downs that it's been through, and how we got to where we are now. So let's go take a look. So here it is in April of 2017. It was about 3 years old at this point. Just a couple little sticks in a pot. Here it is a couple years later, about 2.5 years later, October of 2019. It's in a weird condition at this stage. You can see the trunks are starting to thicken up quite a bit. It was after repotting into bonsai soil that happened. It's really two trunks. It's kind of twin trunks twisted together. So what had happened to get it to this stage, and this you'll see better in the next clip, is I used some insecticide one summer. I want to say it was the summer of 2018. Maybe it was 2019. I can't remember now. One of those two. And it affected a handful of my trees in a really strange way. This was one of them. And what it did, it's hard to explain and I really don't understand it, but it just caused the growth to come out really weird. So instead of just normal leaves coming out, it was like a cluster of leaves. I'm going to show you a close up here in this clip. This is in June of 2020. So there's kind of where I'm talking about. Like this cluster of just mass amount of leaves and buds happening in one spot. So normally where a couple of branches would come out, like 5 or 10 would come out. And it would be really stringy, kind of pathetic looking leaves. I got the insecticide from a local nursery here in Boise. And I'm not sure what happened. I'm not sure if maybe I got the ratio wrong, mixing it with water. I don't think so, but I don't know. It didn't affect all of my trees. It just affected some. This one and a couple of silver maples. Two trees that are typically pretty hardy. So, yeah, at this point, what's extra weird in my mind is that it lasted for 2 growing seasons. So it didn't just happen the one growing season. It happened that season, then waited, went through winter, and then the whole next growing season it did it. So really weird. So here in this clip, back in June of 2020, it's about 4 years ago, I'm pruning it up and I'm trying to salvage the healthier looking leaves and just get rid of the weird, gnarly looking ones. Honestly, I didn't know what to do. And if it happened to me again today, I probably still wouldn't know what to do. It was a weird occurrence. Luckily, they've all recovered since then, but yeah. So that straggly, pathetic looking thing is my quote unquote bonsai tree. Not in great shape. I will also point out the reason the branches are shaped like that is because I had wired them down at one point way, way back, like let's say sometime in 2017 or so, give or take. And I just left the wires on too long. I used guy wires and just to kind of pull them down a little bit, and I just left them on too long, and that's what happens. So in this clip now, in February of 2022, I'm taking some drastic action. I'm getting rid of some of those wonky looking branches, and I'm going to repot it into new soil. There's a big cut. Remember this little cut right here, because I turned it into a cutting later. I didn't even know you could turn ash cuttings into, I didn't know that they would root, but they do. And I just sort of nibble away at it to kind of try and get it flush. I don't think I had any of the right tools available at that moment. And I did post videos on all these if you ever want to see the full video on some of my decision making at the time. But I think what I was really trying to go for was just looking for buds on the tree so that I could leave some buds and not lose a whole branch. And that's about what I'm left with there. So drastic action, big major cuts to try and fix some of those weird looking branches and just get it to a workable condition. Repotted into new bonsai soil. Gave it a good root prune. I won't walk you through all that process in this one, but see the old video if you'd like. And then there it is. Sort of cross my fingers and hope for the best at this point. This was about 2.5 years ago. Got some big scars there to work on, but and it was successful. Here it is the following year, June of 23. So as you can see, it just blew up with growth, which was a relief. So whatever weird thing happened to it, just repotting it and pruning it up seemed to clear it up 2 years later. And remember this little guy? That was the cutting. And it's still doing good today. I put it in I think it was just a little jar of water for a while. I remember being surprised too, because I couldn't see the roots at first, and then I pulled it out like a couple months later, and there it was. So there's a look at the root base. Needs some work. It's got pros and cons. It's got some good stuff going for it, and some stuff that needs attention. Some roots are crossing, and really this tree, to be honest with you, I like it. I love it. In fact, I've had it a very long time. One of my first trees, and it just grew from, I want to say seed. I think it actually popped up in a pot on its own. I was trying to grow something else from seed and it didn't happen, but this one popped up, so I just went with it. But it's always, had those weird problems, and it kind of works against me sometimes. It's kind of like a, hormonal teenager that's, you love them, you just kind of wish it would work with you a little bit. I don't know if that's a good analogy, but that's what I got. It's just a phase. It'll grow out of it. Here it is a couple of months ago in March. Remember those 2 sticks in a pot? It's come a long way. So there's a few issues we're going to address. The main issue it's having right now is that it's close to root bound. It's pretty full of roots. It's actually worse than it looks right here too. We'll see in a minute. But the branches are long and kind of scraggly looking. So that's the theme for this year. You can see some of those roots. I'm going to try to address some of those. I don't think I can fix all the world's problems on them today, but we're going to take a stab at it. So there it is. Got rid of some of those crossing roots. Some of them, even though they're not perfect and, perfectly radial, I still kind of like them. Got some character to them. So I got it repotted. new bonsai soil, and that's just the typical mix I've been using lately, which is pine bark, perlite, academia, pumice, and volcanic rock. There's some of the cuttings from it. I didn't keep any of the cuttings this time. I'm trying to actually not take as many cuttings these days. Ended up with way too many. It just slowly accrues over time. Next thing you know, you got 100 trees, and you're like, how'd this happen? Well, that's how it happens. Taking cuttings. So you see, I kind of point at it there. There's some branches that are crossing. Here it is just a month later, just a quick update after the repot. It's starting to bud out there. Leaves are starting to pop out, so that's a good sign. I always keep an eye on a tree after I repot it or do a kind of a hard job to it just to make sure it's getting the aftercare it needs and all is going well. It's kind of like post-surgery. You gotta take good care of yourself. Yeah, so we got some crossing branches back there, and the underlying problem that is really alluding to, here it is as of present, is that some of these branches are just too long without any internodes, just long branches. So we're going to trim it up. First, I'm going to give it a good rough trim to get it down to shape, and then that way we can see a little bit better to make some branch selections. And then after this, I'll probably just let it grow the rest of the year and then reevaluate next spring and probably make some harder decisions on branches next spring. A little closer look. It's not terrible. There's one issue I haven't mentioned yet. See that? Those are 3 branches coming out of one spot. Big no-no. I've been kicking that can down the road for a while now. And I'm going to kick it down the road a little longer. We'll address this other one first. Only so many problems at a time. I'm trying to decide which branch to leave, which one to keep. And I have to say, I may have made the wrong choice, at least at first. I chose to lose the one on the left because it had some branches down low. So I took it down to those lower branches and thought, okay, that solves it. I'm still not happy with it. For some reason, it takes me a minute to figure out why. See if you can spot it. I didn't see it at first. So I take a step back and look at it, and then I see it. That right there. I should have gotten rid of that thick branch going straight up. Better late than never. Even though I already took off the one to the left of it. Should have been done either way, so I did it now. And then I just kind of look for some areas where there's 4, 5, 6, leaf sets coming out of one spot, and I'll take it down to 1 or 2. Just kind of looking all over for it. Here, there, and everywhere. And just taking a little nip off of the tips of certain branches just for ramification. And I clean up the nubs here and there where there's little nubs left over. It's left in kind of an awkward state. Again, not terrible, but a work in progress still. probably will be for some time. So I guess if I had to sum it all up, I would say I'm trying to get it in a position where I can make the right bold cuts next spring, if that makes any sense. Yeah, so there it is. This is kind of what it's left looking like. We are chipping away at these problems. These problems have gone on with this tree for quite a while. Like I said, I've been kicking some of these cans down the road for quite a while. So no one to blame but myself. But we're chipping away at it, and I think next spring is when we're going to address some of those harder ones. Because it seems to bounce back pretty good from hard prunes. But I appreciate you watching. Please like and subscribe if you haven't yet. You can see updates on this, and you can go back and see some of the previous videos too, if you'd like. But thanks for watching. Have a good rest of your day.